Hey guys, Cameron Smith for Empire Season 2, Episode 4, Poor Yorick. And I was, of course, really looking forward to this episode. I mean, they've really been on a roll. I know I keep saying that, but really, they're on a roll. I mean, they've had 3 perfect episodes, and I was definitely looking forward to this episode. And this was by far the best episode of the season. I mean, I think, like I said, I know Episode 2 I said was probably my favorite episode of Empire so far. No, this is probably my favorite episode of Empire so far. This episode had everything I loved. There was so much drama going on in this episode. And everything that happened pretty much was very eventful, and I definitely really love that, and I really love where this season is going. This is really a fantastic season, and I absolutely loved pretty much everything that happened in this episode. So let's just get into it. There's a lot to talk about as usual. A million things happen in Empire in episode. Right in the beginning, crazy stuff happens, because we start with the FBI raiding Empire's offices. Jamal's in the studio as the raid begins. They take files, computers, papers. I mean, it's really crazy. They're yanking out drawers, dumping stuff everywhere. You can tell this is most likely, you can tell this is most likely, Veronica's doing. You can just tell that she most likely is the one that is responsible for this, and that's why she I mean, who's Veronica? Roxanne's doing. I don't know why I keep saying Veronica. Roxanne's doing. You can tell that this is her doing. And a Rolling Stones reporter is there watching Jamal work, and he says his dad is producing his album called The Artist, which is a pretty good title, I guess. He says Empire is home, and Jamal's assistant comes in and says there's a situation. They're tearing up the upholstery and everything, and Becky is filming, and they snatch her phone. She gets another and runs off. Anika talks to Cookie about taking her on again, and Cookie says she's crazy. Hakeem says you can't trust anyone, and Cookie tells Hakeem that he needs to get some songs viral online since Lucious has now shut down the radio. So they have to do whatever they can to get, he wants to get those songs out, because obviously he wants people to like his music. And Hakeem says he'll find a new lead singer for his girl group. And Anika's show, because of course, they've now lost Valentina. Lucious got Valentina, so now he has to find a new lead singer. And Anika then shows them video of Empire getting raided by the feds, and Cookie tells Hakeem to call Valentina and tell her that Empire is going down like the Titanic, and she tells Anika if she can re-sign, if she can sign royalty, she's back, and then the FBI show up there too, and of course royalty being Tiana, and Cookie is shocked because Thirsty wakes Lucious and says the FBI raided Empire and is likely on the way there too. They hear sirens, and he says he'll head them up downstairs and tells Lucious rise and shine. He greets Roxanne at the door and tries to stop her, and Lucious greets her naked and tells her to look for wherever she likes. And Mimi tells the board at Empire that the FBI raid is unfortunate, that she's supporting the company, and Jamal says he's canceling his Rolling Stones cover, and Lucious shows up and says now is the time to expand. Even though he's not supposed to be there, he said, he's really not supposed to be there, but he wants to give this speech because, obviously, they just had a huge thing happen. Nobody expected them to get raided like that. And I like this speech. I liked what Lucius says here, because he talks about how he says the FBI is nothing, which is why they pulled this stunt. And this stunt, he says they can use this press to grow Empire, and Mimi says this won't help, but Lucius says hip-hop was not born on Wall Street, and if the feds, raid you, you're OG, and the public sees them as raw and dangerous, and Mimi says that's how players play to win, and they high-five, and he tells Jamal to do the cover of the Rolling Stone, and he says they're going to stick their foot so far up the FBI's ass they won't know what hit them, and Thirsty tells Lucius and Jamal, Cookie, Hakeem, and Andre that this is typical, and Lucius says they think Vernon must have switched up on them. Now, of course, he doesn't know that Vernon is dead, and Hakeem asks if he killed Bunkie, but Lucius says he grew up with Bunkie and they looked after each other. He says he misses him every day, and of course, he still has to pull off this stunt that he did not kill Bunkie, which we know he did, and Lucius is doing a great job with that. But eventually, that's why, obviously, this is all happening, is mainly because, like I said, of, mainly because of, I can't even think of her name right now, but you know what I'm talking about. Roxanne. This is mainly because of Roxanne. She's the one that's doing all this, and basically that's why this is happening. So Thirsty said basically that he says that Hakeem basically then says that Cookie says she's going to run her car. Excuse me. Cookie says she's going to run her car down Lucius's ass, and Thirsty says that they need to stick together and be vigilant, and he says they need to be one big happy family, and Thirsty says that this will last until they find Vernon, and convince him not to testify, then the case will get dismissed, and basically that's what they plan on doing. So Andre wakes from a nightmare, and by far, Andre had his best scenes tonight. I mean, Andre stole the show in every scene he was in this episode. This was essentially Andre's episode. Even though next week looks like Andre's episode as well, this really seems like this is going to be the big season for Andre. I mean, he had a lot of big scenes last year, but this season, really, they're really doing a fantastic job with this character. And like I said, Andre is probably my favorite character on the show. Cookie, yeah, entertainment-wise, but character-wise, definitely Andre. I mean, Cookie is great too, but Andre, I'm just really loving Andre's character, and he's probably going to end up becoming my favorite character, just what they're doing with him I love. So, Andre wakes up from a nightmare about Vernon's murder. He throws up, and Lucious cleans up the mess. And because, he knows he killed Vernon, he's not doing anything about it. He's obviously really upset. And Lucious cleans up the mess the FBI left behind, curses them for tearing up his house. And he looks at a photo of him and Bunkie, and Cookie shows up and he asks what she wants. And we get this hilarious scene between him and Cookie. This was just great. I mean, some of the best parts of this show are just them insulting each other, and this is probably some of the funniest stuff yet. Because she says she wants a truce on the poaching the masters in the radio, and he says that's a lot of demands. He calls her Cookie Monster, and she says Hakeem will do the video with Jamal to show they're united as a family. She says it was Hakeem's idea, and she told him he was crazy. She says he also said there would be a lot of money rolling in, and he even called her grandma at one point, and she talks about, how grandmas aren't attractive. I thought that was definitely very funny. Just the fact they were bickering back and forth. I mean, Lucious and Cookie are like little kids. They are like little kids. Even though they're older, they're old, they know what they're doing. They act like little kids. That's something they'll always do, and that's one of the funniest parts of the show, is just their bickering. I love it. It's great. It's hilarious. So, Lucius says he's not budging on the radio, and says if he wants to be on the radio, he'll find a way. And he says he never tried to take her masters, and calls Anika a liar. And she says that was his woman, so she doesn't know who to believe. And he asks why she's in business with her. Because, of course, Cookie and Anika hate each other. But if you remember last week, Lucius gave her a deal, and Cookie's given her a deal. So Anika really needs to make a decision here. And he calls her grandma, like I said, and she calls him grandpa, calls him fat. Then she says he better be nicer to Andre if he wants to see his grandson. She says she show her a grandma with an ass like that and slaps her butt on the way out. That was so hilarious. And Jamal is at had his cover shoot, and he says he feels stupid doing this, and the photographer says to show him the pain of his father's legal battle, and Michael rolls his eyes at this, and he tells him to change it up and play something on the keyboard. Jamal doesn't want to just talk about, things like his father battling, what he's going through. He wants to focus on the music. That's what's important to him. He doesn't care about, something I like about Jamal that we're really seeing this season is that this does happen to people. They're forced to talk about things they don't really want to talk about. And Jamal really does not want to talk about all the drama going on in his family because he deals with that 24/7. He just wants to focus on the music here. And he tells him to change it up, play something on the keyboard. He snaps photo after photo. And Andre comes to see Lucius at the club, and he tells Andre he knows they're going through a lot. And Andre says all he does is love him. He's never done anything, and all he does is shut him out. And Lucius says he didn't grow up the way Andre did. And we get another really great flashback. I've really been loving what they're doing with the flashbacks here. And he tells him that he thinks back to a social worker from Child Protective Services at their house. And they're asking him if he feels safe, and he talks about how he wants to be with his mom, and he knows that, I think Lucius knew that his mom was never okay, but he loved her that much that he wanted to be with her. It's really sad. Even though Lucius is never going to be a likable character, and he's never going to be someone that I think we ever, justify what he's doing, I think we can understand why he's doing this. Obviously, Andre has bipolar, his mom did too, and he knows the situation his mom went through, and he's kind of lashing out at Andre for that, so I can understand that. And I think Lucius does need to explain that to him, but Lucius, he's a guy that keeps things in. He doesn't express how he feels, so he's probably never going to tell him about that. And Lucius says he can't change the past, but can change the future, and he says he wants to be a great-grandfather, and he wants to be there for his grandchild. And I like how Lucius is trying to make an effort. Even though he's lying through his teeth about a lot of things, he is trying to be there. He is definitely trying to do something, and I like seeing that. So he says he will love and protect his grandchild. Andre says the door is always open for him to see the baby, and they talk about the case, and Lucius says that Roxanne is crazy. He asks if he'll let him back at Empire. Can he be CFO again? And Lucius says he can have anything he wants if he makes that happen. So Andre says okay, and Lucius later shows up at the video shoot to see Hakeem, and he says he's glad he's doing this, and Hakeem says he's only doing it because he can't get his stuff on the radio, so he basically is forced to work them, because obviously he wants content. He wants people to hear his music, and Lucius shut down the radio, so he's basically desperate at this point. So Lucius says he's sorry about Valentina, but wants to make it up to him and makes a beat for him. He hands him the headphones, but Hakeem refuses, and Cookie asks why he's slithering around and asks what he wants, and Hakeem says he just had a beat for it. It was different, he had something better and than Lucius did. And Hakeem says it's her and him now, and she doesn't have to worry about that fool, and Lucius asks why Mimi bought into Empire, and she says when her cancer went into readmission, she decided to have fun with her life, and Cookie tells Mimi, white bitch has to go. So Cookie asks Lucius if he's best friends with Katie Lang now, and Hakeem says to play nice, and Andre washes his face. Then Rhonda comes in, and she asks if he's okay, and he says he is. She says she heard him get sick last night and wanted to make sure, and he says he's going to dig up Vernon. She asks why. He says it's his only way back to Empire, and he keeps talking about, how God is calling him, and she says she'll go to prison if he gets caught. He says he'll take the fall before he let her go down for it, and you can tell that Andre, he wants closure. He doesn't want to have this image of, Vernon's dead body in his head. He wants to do something about it. So, he wants to do the right thing, and Andre's always going to be that kind of person. He's always going to be someone that wants to do the right thing, and that's something that, I think Rhonda does understand, but obviously Rhonda wants to protect them, so I like seeing that, definitely. And Rhonda's freaked out. He says God wants him to keep seeing Empire, and he has to follow his word. Rhonda's worried, but Andre hugs her and thanks her, and I like how Rhonda, even though she's not okay with it, she is going to help him, because that's how much she loves him, and that's how much she cares. So the video shoot is in, and it's as ridiculous as you can imagine. It's post-apocalyptic and Black Panther-esque. It's probably perfect for this song. And finally, we get the song Ain't About the Money. I have been waiting so long for them to do this song episode. Finally, they did it here. Such an awesome song. I've had that song on my phone for weeks and weeks now, ever since the show premiered, and it really is an awesome song. I really love it. It sounds like something you'd hear on the radio, which is something that they've done very well this season. All the music this season has been terrific. Especially the variety this season. And this episode, too, we get a very drastic change in music that I definitely really liked. But Lucius tells Cookie it's nice to see them all together, and an NYPD car pulls up on Cookie and just arrests her right then and there. And she tells Portia to call the lawyer. They tell her she has a warrant for failure to appear. She yells out to anyone that hears that if she dies in police custody, she did not commit suicide. And I thought that was a very funny scene, and I definitely really like seeing that. But then you feel really bad for Cookie, because she has a flashback to when she was in prison last time, and, she took the fall for Lucius last time. She's not going to do it again. She's not going to let that happen. And she pounds on the windows of her holding cell and says she wants her lawyer. And Roxanne comes in and I'm like, oh shit, what is Roxanne planning? Because, let's face it, Roxanne, even though, she's right that Lucius did kill Bunkie, she is being stalkerish. She's being stalkerish. She's doing things that really do cross some lines, and she's just really not doing the right thing overall. She definitely is going way too into this case and being way too stalkerish than she should be. So Roxanne says she jumped a turnstile, and they see it's Portia in the photo who jumped in and gave her name. So Cookie says she's pushing hard, then asks what she wants, and Roxanne says she's on parole and can send her away if she finds the tiniest thing, and Cookie tells her to dig away. Roxanne threatens to hurt her kids, and she says she can leak his medical reports, and she hopes he doesn't kill himself, and Cookie says that she has a whack weave, and Roxanne says give her what she wants or she'll come after her boys, so she really has no choice but to do that. Andre loads his shovel into his car, gets ready to go, and Rhonda startles him. She says she's coming with him, and she says she's ride or die all the way. She gets into the car with her husband, and they head out. She's gonna, she's not gonna let him do this on his own. She wants to help him out. So, because, that's just how she is. So Hakeem listens to the beat that his dad made for him. He says it's dope, and Lucius says it's his if he comes back to Empire, and says the other label doesn't have the resources for him. And Lucius says Cookie is unreliable, and if he comes back to Empire, he'll be on the radio in the morning, and then he can manage Valentina too. So Cookie thinks about being in her cell. So, it's really an offer that Hakeem can't refuse. Not trying to have a Godfather tie-in here. I know a lot of people are comparing the show to The Godfather, which honestly, I do see the comparisons, definitely. I understand, I know people are talking about that, but yeah, I do see the comparisons here. But, really, he is giving him an offer he can't refuse. So, Cookie thinks about being in her cell, begging to die, saying she can't take it anymore. it's a really sad scene. She's pounding on the door, says to get Roxanne in there. That's why Taraji P. Henson is so good with this character. She can be really funny, but at the same time, you really do feel bad for her. And that's something I've always loved about Cookie as a character. She's a very layered character, and that's something I love. That goes for everyone in the show. Everyone's really layered. Not so much, even Lucius, I think, is layered. He has those moments where, especially in this episode, he has those moments where, maybe he's doing things for himself, but he does have a nice heart in there. And Cookie pounds on the door and says to get Roxanne in there. The photographer shows Jamal his cover, and Lucius tells the guy he's a genius. Hakeem says they can work and says it's tacky and ugly, and Hakeem says it's the ugliest thing he's seen in his life, and Lucius says he came to shoot a video, and Cookie would have had this gone, and Lucius threatens to shut it down until Cookie shows up, and Lucius calls him Mama's boy. Hakeem gets mad. He puts a knife into the portrait of Jamal, says, let's shoot, and Jamal and Hakeem end up brawling on set, and it's crazy. They're trying to perform the song, but they end up getting into a fight. Hakeem almost hits him with a bat. I mean, that was just insane, but you can see how upset Hakeem is. He even says that they don't really have a family anymore, and it's true. They've never really been much of a family to begin with. They've, most of their life has just been them manipulating each other their whole life, and he's tired of it. It's understandable why he's so upset. And he tells Lucius he's out of there and is never coming back, and he's really upset, obviously. So Cookie tells Roxanne she'll give her what she can and says she knows Bunkie and Lucius were fighting over Apex Radio, and Bunkie was trying to block the purchase, then he came up dead, and Lucius bought it right after he got out of jail. So Cookie says she's sorry about insulting her weave, and it looks like Cookie found a way to get Roxanne to ruin the radio deal. She is basically going to help out Roxanne because, she obviously wants to see her kids, and she wants things to go well, so she has no choice but to help her. Although I do feel that she's going to get screwed over, because it seems like Roxanne wants to do what's in her best interest and nobody else's. So I don't really know. Roxanne seems to be the big antagonist of this season, which I really like. She's a really good antagonist, I have to say. Even though, again, she is doing things for the right reasons, she definitely is crossing lines, like I said. So Andre and Rhonda are digging in the wrong spot, and they're panicking because every hole looks the same, pretty much. And Rhonda's freaking out because it's not the right hole for them to put, all the holes are the same size, and this could end up really badly for them. And, they want to do it secretly. They don't want people to know that Vernon's dead, obviously, so Rhonda would be the one to go to jail because she's the one that hits him with the candle in the first place, so they're freaking out, and I was really worried for Andre and Rhonda. I honestly thought Rhonda was going to go into jail in this episode. I really did. But an upset Jamal apologized to the artist about the ruined work, and he says Hakeem just changed it and says art is fluid. He says it's epithermal, and this is the painting now. He says it represents the violence, anger of a racist and homophobic society. And I agree. It's a good painting. It's not bad what Hakeem did, but Jamal clearly doesn't like Hakeem changing things, which I can understand. Jamal had a way of doing something and Hakeem changed it. He's pretty upset about it, but I like how the artist's trying to tell him that it's not bad what Hakeem is doing. And that's something I like seeing, even though these two, they can't agree at all, they do both have very good ideas, and that really is what it's about. It's all just a clash of ideas here. And Rhonda tells Hakeem that they have to, Rhonda tells Andre that they have to stop, and they're out of time. She says they're going to get caught, but he says it's his last shot. She says they need to fill the holes and get out of there, and so there's more to life than Empire. He agrees. They see headlights, they duck down, and I was honestly really worried for them this scene, because I thought that they were going to get busted by the cops, but the car pulls in, they're hiding one of the graves, and a man says to come out with their hands up, and it's Lucius with Thirsty, so they're off the hook, and he asks why he's there, and he says he had Thirsty put a tracker in his car, and thought someone was up, and he asks what they did with Vernon because he knows that something's going on. And they tell him the truth. They tell him that Rhonda says that he was fighting with Andre and she had Vernon with a candlestick, and Lucius is actually happy with Andre because he did it to protect him. He did to protect him, and Rhonda protected him, and it was all just because Vernon attacked him. He had no other choice to do that. So Lucius is actually really happy about this. And again, even though it is for Lucius's best interest, I thought it was nice that Lucius told Andre, wasn't pissed at Andre about this, and seemed like he was gonna be. But Thirsty has a corpse detector with him and finds the body, and Hakeem sits drinking, listening to an old school singer who's crooning, which is something we never hear on the show. We never hear that kind of music, but that was really cool. The singer sounded kind of like Michael Bublé or something. I really like that. I wonder if maybe we're gonna go in that direction. Honestly, I don't know if Hakeem's gonna become like a jazz singer or anything. I don't see that happening, but I kind of would like to see some more of that variety on the show. I like when the show, even though I love the music that they have, I like when they do have some different kinds of music besides just R&B and rap. I think that's really cool the way they do that. So he goes to text Jamal an apology, then changes his mind because the singer then introduces his cousin Laura, who's never sung in front of an audience before. And she sings quietly, and people are talking over her. But then she hits this one note, and her voice gets strong. And Hakeem takes notice. He wants to work with her, and she's probably going to be the one to replace Valentina. And we get this really nice montage here of Lucius, Thirsty, Andre, and Rhonda working together, digging up the body, and Jamal and Michael working with the artist, putting up some copies of the print of Jamal. And he tells Jamal he's more than an artist and is the art now. And Laura finishes her song, and it was a really great song. It wasn't, I don't know what she was saying because it was in Spanish, but I really like that song, and I definitely feel that Hakeem is going to probably try to get her work, try to work with her. That's what he's going to do for the girl group because she is probably the perfect lead singer. Although my thing here is, though, she is very shy, so he has to try to get her to come out of her comfort zone, which I think should be easy. We know Hakeem is one with the ladies. Definitely, he is definitely one when it comes to flirting with girls, but we'll have to see how this turns out. So Andre and Thirsty load Vernon's body in the trunk of the car, and Andre says they need to say words, and he tells Vernon he's sorry for what they did. And this really was the closure that not only Andre got, but we got with Vernon. We never really got that closure with Vernon. The most we got with Vernon was that he attacked Andre, and he was killed, and it was an accident. They didn't mean to kill Vernon, obviously, and they really had no choice, though, because, we know Vernon was probably going to kill Andre if the fight continued. So he tells Andre he's sorry for what they did to him and would change it if he could. He says he loves him and forgives him and says he wouldn't be the man he was today if he hadn't looked after him all those years. And Andre says God helped him, and Lucius says it was beautiful. Then Lucius asks for a moment, and he says to Vernon he hopes he rots in hell, calls him a snitch, then shuts the trunk, and I like the difference in Andre and Lucius' speech. Andre's was very much like, God's gonna help you out, but Lucius was just like, you know what, fuck you. That's just the difference between the two. But Lucius tells Andre he's sorry, he hugs him, and Andre says it's okay. They shake hands, and he's going back to Empire. So now all they have to do is for Jamal to convince Lucius to get Andre to now take over and be the head of Empire, because that's what Andre wants. He wants to be the head of Empire. Even though, Rhonda told him Empire's not everything, he now has Empire. So the thing is, though, I kind of feel like Rhonda doesn't want that. You can tell that Rhonda doesn't want him back there because she knows it's going to cause drama, but it's just inevitable that he's going to get back there. There's no way he can get away from it. Empire is just something that this entire family's going to have to live with for the rest of their life. Even though Rhonda doesn't want him there, it's just kind of their life now. So Cookie gets back to the video shoot, sees it's done for the night. Anika's there and says they finished a few hours ago and says she's glad she called her. She says they're going to get Tiana back, and Cookie says Lucius told her that he was never after their masters, and Anika says he's lying, and Cookie says she knows that, but it's Anika she can't trust, and tells her not to show up at her studios again, and she kicks her out. She's done with her. She doesn't want her there. So I thought that was definitely really cool that she just kicked her after that. So I don't know what's going to happen with Anika, but she's not working with Cookie now, because obviously, Lucius gave her a deal, Cookie gave her a deal, she worked with Lucius, and obviously that really pissed off Cookie. Basically, Lucius sits at his desk, sets a fire a photo of him, Bunkie, and Vernon, and that's pretty much just him getting that closure he needed with Bunkie and Vernon, putting away that part of his life, although it's not going to go away, because obviously, Roxanne is still on him. Roxanne, the whole reason she's doing all this is to prove that he did in fact kill Bunkie, which he's not admitting to, but that's the reason why she is, stirring up all this trouble. So he thinks about his mom, who really did love him, even though she was crazy, she really did love him, and that's why he cares about her so much, because at the end of the day, she did care for him, she did see him as her son, even though she was senile, she did see him as her son, and I really like seeing that. So Roxanne tells her people to send the press release of the FCC block of the sale of Apex to Empire, and she gets into her car. You think it's going to go well, but then she screams because they have put the body of Vernon in her passenger seat. Basically, I'm thinking that they're going to try to frame Roxanne for this, and that's basically how the episode ends. So I really don't know what they're going to do with this. Are they trying to frame Roxanne? Are they trying? I don't really know. Maybe Lucius is trying to get Andre in jail. I don't know really what they're trying to do with this, but this was definitely very interesting. I did not see this going here at all, but I think it's a very good twist, and I definitely really love it. I can't wait to see where that goes, but that's going to be very interesting. Now that Andre's back at Empire, what's going to happen between Jamal and Andre? We know that there's been a lot of tension between Jamal and Hakeem. Not really a lot between Jamal and Andre, mainly because I think Jamal just knows that Andre is probably better to run the record label overall, so I'm thinking that Andre's going to take over the company, even though Lucius probably doesn't want to and obviously wants to take it over for himself, I think he's going to try to take over, and hopefully that works out well for Andre, because like I said, I think Andre, out of all three sons, is the best person for that. But like I said, Rhonda doesn't seem like she really wants him to go back to that, because, she wants them to raise a family, and especially when Rhonda has that baby, things are going to get very complicated for her and Andre, because he's going to have to balance being a father, and he's basically going to be in the same position that Lucious is in, even though he didn't go through the same things as Lucious. He definitely is going to be in a very weird position there, so we'll have to see what happens with that. What is Anika going to do? Obviously, Cookie just fired Anika from the record label altogether, so is she maybe going to do something with Hakeem? I'm thinking she's going to work with Hakeem, because he obviously isn't working with her, so I'm thinking that, since him and Anika are close, I'm thinking they're going to team up and they're going to work together, which could be interesting. I like seeing people team up in this season that we haven't seen really interact before, and I think that definitely is very cool. So maybe maybe they'll ally, we'll have to see. But Hakeem is definitely going to try to recruit Laura. That definitely is going to happen. Even though she seemed very shy, hopefully he can get her out of that comfort zone, because she is a very good singer. She's very good at what she does, and she probably would be very good for Empire, even though she's very shy. That's really my only thing here, is that she's shy. It might not be the easiest thing to do, but I think that he can manage it. And we'll have to see what happens with that, because that definitely is going to be very interesting. As far as the whole thing between Jamal and Hakeem goes, I don't really know how this is going to go. Obviously, they have a lot of tension between them right now, and I don't know if they're ever going to make up amends, but we'll have to see if they do make amends. And what is Jamal going to agree on? Is he going to agree on Hakeem's, ideas, or Jamal's ideas? Because obviously, he has ideas and Hakeem has ideas, and they're definitely clashing, and I like seeing the clashing of ideas. Definitely, it's something that's very interesting. I don't really know what he's going to decide on. We'll have to see. That's something I'm definitely looking forward to, is seeing what they're going to decide on. And I guess the only thing I'm going to talk about is I'm really enjoying the flashbacks that we're seeing. Also, is Roxanne's plan going to work with the FCC? Obviously, there's something else that Lucious has up his sleeve, because Lucious is just that person that, whenever it seems like he is done with something, he always has something else up his sleeve to get him out of it. That's just how Lucious is. He's always planning stuff, so I don't know how that's going to work out. But I really like seeing these flashbacks of Lucious's mom. I honestly would like them to do a flashback episode of Lucious with his mom and Cookie in jail. I would really like to see that, because that's one of the things that's really deepening the characters on the show. It's showing that Lucious is not heartless. There's a reason why he is the malicious dick, asshole that he is. That's why, because of his mom. Again, I'm not justifying what he's doing, but everyone has a reason, anytime someone's mean, they are not just mean to be mean, they have a reason why, and Lucious is because of his mom. So I hope we continue seeing that, because I really like what they're doing with that. And also, like I said, I really like to see them actually do music like we saw in this episode. I don't know if they're going to do like jazz music, but I thought it was pretty cool that we saw that, because we are always used to like the rap and the hip hop and things like that, which I do like that music. That's really good music. But I thought it was cool to see something a bit different for a change, and if the show wants to, get a broader audience, then I think it'd be cool if they did that. I'm not saying, they need to switch completely, but once in a while, that could be really cool to see what they do with that. Also, Valentina, doesn't seem like Lucious has much of a plan with Valentina. We'll have to see where that goes. And also, not much talk about getting Frank's daughter either. I can't remember her name right now, but obviously he wants to get Frank's daughter. Not much talk about that. We'll have to see where that goes. And the other big thing, of course, is that Lucious and Cookie are still very much at each other's throats. They need to work together in order to make anything work, because if they want any of this to work, they have to work together. They're probably just as bad as Jamal and Hakeem, and they're being hypocrites, because, they don't want Jamal and Hakeem fighting, but then they fight every 5 seconds. So we'll have to see what happens between that. But that's basically my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I thought this was by far the best episode of the season. Absolutely loved it. Next week's episode looks great. I can't wait to see what happens. It looks like it's going to focus mainly just on Andre, so we'll have to see what happens with that. But we'll see you guys in the next week, which will be for another 31 Days of Horror movie review, and then we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.